TikTok, what's good? What's good? So, here we go again. Back in action, back to work. So far, it's been a pretty good day this morning. Although it is hot as hell in South Florida, as usual. So, I'm not really complaining about it. Just stating the fact that it is freaking hot. Let me see. Let me adjust. I'm so OCD when it comes to this shit. I'm sorry. I'm just messed up that way. That's probably one of my major flaws. Or is it really a flaw to be OCD about certain things? I just like stuff to be as right can be. I know it's never perfect. Nothing's perfect. But I do have an attitude that forces me to strive for better, for excellence, in most cases. But I'm also a minimalist. I don't like to overdo anything. I don't like to use more than what I actually need to get the job done. I like to use the right tools to get the job done. And I don't know. It's just simple like that for me. I like simplicity. I love simplicity. So many of us get caught up in things that complicate our lives, and we find ourselves, being emotionally attached to things that we shouldn't be attached to, which brings a lot of drama and brings a lot of stress to our lives. You can simplify your life, and it's very, very easy to do. First, by letting go of your emotions. I talk about this a lot because I see more and more people today, having emotional fits, and raging about things that they really don't need to be raging about. And what is it, that causes us to be that way? Why are humans so emotionally involved in things that really don't matter? And then the things that do matter, we tend to just overlook, and take for granted. The answer to that question is very simple too. People don't like to put in work. And the things that are good for us require work. And sometimes that work is hard, but we live in a culture that wants everything right now. Gotta have it now, gotta have it fast, And when we don't get it, right when we want it, we quickly lose interest, or we get all bent out of shape and get angry about it, which causes us to go and do stupid things and make stupid decisions. So, I want to continue to bring to light the fact that it's our human emotions that are really causing us the most grief in life. And we have to work hard to get control of our emotions and start to think more rationally, and logically, so that we don't react emotionally, to whatever. Doesn't matter what it is. When your emotions are involved, chances are it's going to go bad really quickly. You know what I mean? When it's so much simpler just to sit back, and look at the big picture and come up with a plan of action, to deal with whatever situation you're faced with. A lot of people are in financial trouble right now, living paycheck to paycheck, living payday loan to payday loan, and they're trying to figure out, this whole cost of living thing, prices, being so much higher across the board, when when we have an administration in power that campaigned on lowering prices, that campaigned on making life easier for us. But listen, you can never count on the government to do anything that's going to be good for you. You can't, mainly because a lot of times we pick the wrong fucking government to be in power. We pick the wrong people to be in power. We pick these people who come on and they con you, with the storylines that make you feel good. They play on your psyche. They play on your emotions. And because of that, you buy into their bullshit. And we get what we get. We get what we get. Donald Trump is only in office because of so many millions of people that played, into his emotional mind game. And it's sad. It's sad that it was so simple for him to do that. And not just him, but the people around him. And in fact, I don't even think Donald Trump really knows what the fuck he's doing personally, but he has a bunch of people around him that are definitely manipulating him into thinking that he's doing the right thing, and making him believe he's making the right decisions for the people, when in the back of his mind, all he really cares about is enriching himself and his family. He doesn't give a shit about us. He really doesn't. I don't understand how people can even believe that he does. He's never been us. He's never walked in our shoes. He's never known what it's like, for the lights to be cut off or to have no heat, in the wintertime, or to have no air conditioning in the summertime. He's never known what it's like to go into a grocery store, because he's never been in a grocery store. But he's never had the experience of walking up to a register, and ringing up all the stuff that you need, and you not having enough money to pay for everything, and you have to put stuff back or leave stuff there at the register just to be able to get something. He's never experienced that shit. He's never had to. He was born into wealth. He inherited his wealth, and he's currently stealing his wealth from us. From us that are out here working hard, doing the right things, trying to protect, and feed our families, and provide a good life for ourselves. He's never had this experience of being a real world American, and that's what I'll call us. We are real world Americans. We're out here in the trenches every day, trying to make ends meet. And I know some of y'all out there, the ends ain't never met. The ends don't even know each other. You know what I'm saying? It's like living in an apartment building and not knowing who your fucking neighbors are on either side of your apartment. There's so much of that going on in this country. People just don't know what to do. They don't know where to turn, because it seems like the things that should be helping us, are failing us. That's because people put too much faith, in the establishment, too much faith in the government, when the government is supposed to be there to serve us, but they're only serving themselves. They don't give a shit about us once they get in office. And listen, that goes for both sides. And it's not all of them. There are some politicians who go to Washington, and go to our state capitals and go to our, city seats and county seats, with the right intentions. But then they get there and they run into the brick wall of politics, and realize that it seems almost impossible to actually affect any change. But the change comes from us, the people. We, the people, still have the power. Believe it or not, we do. And it's proven every day, especially in federal politics, because you have one party that's out here trying to make it so much more difficult for you to vote, while you have another party that's out here pandering so hard for your vote that they look like a bunch of clowns. And people always say, well, the right wing this and the left wing that, right wing lunatics, left wing radicals, you know. Right wing, left wing, same damn bird. How many birds have you ever seen fly with just one wing? Not a one. A bird needs both wings. We need conservatives and liberals, but we need them to meet in the middle. We need them to come together and figure out, compromises that are going to be good for everybody. We all have to compromise, whether we want to or not, whether we like it or not. That's what legislation is all about. That's what our government is supposed to be about. Finding ways to compromise so that we can all live together in harmony, so that we can all have the things that we need, and so that we all have the opportunity to get the things that we desire. We're not supposed to be fighting each other about this, that, and the other. You know what I'm saying? It's not for me to try to force you to live a certain way and for you to try to force me to live a certain way. We're all supposed to live our lives the way that we choose to live our lives, but we do have to keep a set of ground rules for the overall population so that we all live on a fair playing field. We all need to have access to the same opportunities, instead of having a group of billionaires blocking the rest of us from achieving whatever it is that we set for ourselves. Because that's what it is. Listen, y'all, pay attention. It's not about black or white, except that when it is, but it's really not. It's about the billionaires and the rest of us. It's about the haves and the have-nots. That's what it's always been. It's always been that 1% that wants to control the other 99%. And right now, that has never been more clear. We have a very small percentage of people in this world who control all of the resources. But understand this, they wouldn't be able to control those resources without us. Without us consuming those resources. And see, therein lies the fact that we, the people, are the true power. When are y'all going to get that through your heads? When are y'all going to realize that we're not enemies, people? We all need the same things. We literally all need the same things. We all want different things. You know what I'm saying? We all want, better things, in better conditions. We all want that. But we all need the same things. And when a small percentage of the population controls all of the things that we need, it creates the environment that we're in now. Because what they do is they use the control of those resources to keep us at odds against each other so that we don't pay attention to the bullshit that they're doing. Like what the Trump administration is doing. Like, what what a lot of politicians are doing. They're fleecing us to maintain their lifestyles and to maintain their power and authority over us, which they don't have authority over us. They are hired to manage the system in which we live. But somehow or another, somewhere along the line, they got it twisted, and then they convinced all of you out there that they're in charge. They're not in charge, people. We're in charge. The Constitution's first 3 words, we the people. We the people. Not they the government, not they the presidents, not they the senators, not they the representatives. We the people. Even the judges. Even the judges do not have ultimate authority over anything. Yes, we have a Supreme Court, at state level, at federal level, but they are still there at the service of the people. The president is the president at the service of the people. And not just the people that they consider the people. The people meaning all of us, whether Democrat, Republican, conservative or liberal, independent, you know what I'm saying? Doesn't matter what religion, doesn't matter, what ethnic group, it doesn't matter about any of that. We, the people, every last one of us. We're not subjects to the government. This isn't a kingdom. Remember, that's what the Pilgrims were running away from. They didn't want to be subjects of the King of England anymore. And yet they came here as illegal aliens. They stole the land from the peoples that were already here, and then they subjugated them. Think about that. Think about how this country has come together. It starts out with illegal immigrants coming to a foreign land, taking over that foreign land and subjugating the indigenous people who were here already, basically doing to them what they were running away from in Europe. And then they bring another population of people over here as slaves to work and build this land for them. And then one day it pops up, this is America. We're declaring our independence from England. But that independence didn't include us, meaning people that looked like me at the time. It didn't include the indigenous people who were already here at the time. That independence only applied to those European illegal aliens who came here and stole the land, raped and pillaged, infested with disease the indigenous peoples, subjugated them to reservations, imprisoned them in their own land. Think about that. And now here we are as a nation with descendants of those Europeans trying to take us back to those days of imprisonment and slavery and subjugation. History always repeats itself in one way or another. This American experiment presently is failing because we the people have lost sight of the foundations of this country. Yes, the so-called founding fathers of this nation didn't include us, but they wrote the Constitution in a way in which it would evolve into an all-inclusive society. And we were headed in that direction. There were some great strides achieved in this whole American experiment over the last 2 centuries. Now we're 2.5 centuries old, and it seems like we're going backwards. Civil rights have been heavily curtailed. Voting rights have been heavily curtailed. That old imperial power structure has risen up again and is doing everything it can to take us back to the so-called good old days. You know what I mean? Those Jim Crow days when people who looked like me had no power, had no authority, had no representation. And if you don't see it, if you can't see it, then you're part of the problem. You really are. That's why I always say we got some work to do, people. And unfortunately, it's probably going to get bloody before it gets better. We're probably going to end up fighting, like seriously fighting amongst ourselves to get back on track towards greatness. Because we've never been great. America has never been great, y'all. Let's be honest. America has achieved some great accomplishments over the past 2.5 centuries. Yes, we have done some great things, but we've also done a lot of foul-ass, diabolical, evil shit too. Yes, America is guilty of evil. America is guilty of committing crimes against humanity too. Even though for such a long time, America was the beacon of freedom and prosperity and opportunity. But along the way, America's done some bullshit. America's the only country that has ever used nuclear weapons against another country. We dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan back in the 1940s. 2. But yet, here's America trying to tell other countries they can't have nuclear weapons. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against that. But we shouldn't have them either. Our history is prime example of why we shouldn't have them, because we've actually used them. So for us to be leading the charge, telling everybody else, nah, you can't have these things, that's hypocritical. It's diabolical. It's evil. What's worse, though, is the fact that America has committed crimes against humanity by invading another country and kidnapping their president. It doesn't matter whether we like their leadership or not. It doesn't matter that their leadership, took over their country, But it's not our place to determine these people's advancement. It's up to the Venezuelans. If the Venezuelans wanted to overturn Maduro, it should have been left up to them in their time. Now, Trump's talking about possibly invading Cuba. And think about this. The previous government in Cuba, the Castro government, used to be our allies. Did you know Fidel Castro, before he became the leader of Cuba, was a future baseball star here in America? But then he decided, hey, I need to free my country from, I forget what the previous leader's name, but it was a brutal dictatorship in Cuba before Castro. And it was the United States that helped Castro gain power. And then when Castro got in power and decided, hey, I don't want to be a puppet of the United States anymore, all of a sudden he's evil, he's a pariah. And the United States blockaded the hell out of Cuba, sanctioned the hell out of Cuba, kept them off the world stage. So they did what any other country would do. They went to countries that would help them, that would supply them with the things that they needed. Unfortunately, that happened to be the Soviet Union at the time. So they embraced communism because communism said, hey, the United States won't help you out because they don't like your form of government. They don't like the fact that your leader doesn't want to be a puppet anymore. We'll help you. We'll send you food and supplies. We'll do trade with you. Cuba was getting all of their oil from Venezuela. You don't think this was a imperialist move that Trump pulled by taking over Venezuela and stopping the flow of oil to Cuba? Y'all got to be honest, man. Y'all got to be honest with the facts. The United States is full of shit at times. The United States is full of shit, especially now. And it's embarrassing. We are looking like a bunch of clowns on the world stage. We live in a global economy, y'all. And we got a bunch of billionaire terrorists running this country now. A full-fledged criminal organization in charge of the American government. And what are we to do? What are we to do? We have a 34-time convicted felon, an adjudicated sexual predator, a pedophile protector, actually, because they won't release the Epstein files, because if they do, a lot of people are going to go down. Republican and Democrat, y'all, and independents. There's a lot of CEOs on that list, I'm sure. A lot of powerful, influential people on that Epstein list. And Trump's going to protect him, even though he signed into law an act that was supposed to release all of the files, and they still have not. We're almost 200 days into that law being enacted, and they still have not complied with their own law. Why? Because a lot of powerful people will go down, including the one at the top sitting in the White House. We the people can make this shit happen, y'all. We the people can force that shit to come out. Listen, If we gotta clean house and get rid of all of these motherfuckers and start over from scratch, then so be it. Because on the Democratic side, Democrats don't give a fuck. If a Democrat's on that list, their asses are gonna go. But see, the Republican Party, MAGA, is not the same. They're gonna protect. They're gonna protect their pedophiles with every fiber of their being. They're gonna protect all the criminal activity going on their side of the aisle, because that's what they are. They're criminals themselves. We got senators and congressmen making millions right now off the stock market based on advanced knowledge of presidential announcements and shit like that they know is going to influence the markets. Making billions on both sides of the aisle. It's not just Republicans, not just Democrats. They're all making money. Breaking the law. And here we are, like a bunch of idiots, out here fighting amongst ourselves and not paying attention to the bullshit that's going on in D.C. Still holding true to partisan fucking politics. I'm going to vote my party regardless. I don't care what they do. I don't care what laws they break. I'm voting Republican. I'm voting Democrat. That's some bullshit. You should vote what's right. And if they're breaking the fucking law, you should vote their asses up out of there. But people aren't going to do that. People are going to stick to their gang. Because that's all it is. That's all it is gang banging on the federal level. It's red and blue. Crips and Bloods. Same as the street level bullshit that goes on. And it's a fucking shame that that's what we have to deal with as Americans. We got to deal with this fucking gangbanging lifestyle at all levels. From the White House down to the lowest, deepest, darkest shitholes in the streets of America. It's always a fight between red and blue. And the people suffer for it. Because a lot of the people don't want to stand up and say anything. A lot of the people are afraid to stand up and say anything. Aren't y'all tired of this bullshit? Aren't y'all tired of the fighting and bickering amongst us? We need to come together. MAGA, I'm not your enemy. That motherfucker in the White House that convinced you that I'm your enemy is your true enemy. And you need to recognize. So many people say, well, the Democratic Party is just as bad. They may be. But they're not as blatant. They're not as open with their bullshit as the Republicans are right now. And the Democrats weren't trying to take us back to Jim Crow era. As screwed up as the Democratic Party may be, and my only problem with the Democratic Party, to tell you the truth, is the fact that these old fuckers won't get out the way. Let these youngsters take over. You motherfuckers that have been in Congress and in the Senate, for 30, 40, 50 years, y'all need to step the fuck aside and let the young blood take over. Because you old motherfuckers, us old motherfuckers are out of touch. Yes, I said us because I'm in that old ass group. As a 60-year-old, I got no fucking business trying to hold on, to a political seat with my old ass. I'm out of touch. I'm out of the work market. I'm retired. The fuck do I need to be up here trying to make legislation, that's going to affect the next 2 or 3 generations? You know what I'm saying? Think about that shit. And you 70, 80-year-old motherfuckers up there in Congress need to go. All of you. Step the fuck aside and let the young progressives take over. Because, you know what? They probably got some good fucking ideas that might actually benefit your old ass. And same on the Republican side. The Republicans got some of the oldest motherfuckers ever. Look at Bitch McConnell. This motherfucker don't even remember his own fucking name. He's finally leaving. Or if he hasn't left already, is he still there? Nancy Pelosi, get your ass out of there. Chuck Schumer, get the fuck out of there. And all you other old motherfuckers on both sides of the aisle, get the fuck out of there and let these young people take over. Aren't y'all tired? But see, the problem is y'all motherfuckers have done so much dirt over the years that you're scared. You're afraid these young people might come in and say, you know what? Now it's time for a reckoning. We're going to clean house, and you motherfuckers are going to pay the price for the bullshit that you fucking created. That's what they're afraid of. Trump is terrified that if Democrats get back in office, his ass might actually do some prison time. I don't think it would ever happen because I think the Democrats are soft. They let the fucker go when they had the opportunity to take him down. But no, they gave him a pass. They played patty cake with him. And now look what we got. We got, as I said before, a whole criminal organization leading the government now. And Congress hasn't really given up their power. They're just not exercising the power that they have. They've decided to just say, fuck it, we're gonna let this motherfucker do whatever he wants to do. And that's a crime within itself. That's a crime within itself. So let me reiterate the fact that I am not y'all's enemy out there, MAGA or otherwise. I'm not your enemy. I don't hate you. I hate some of the shit y'all do. I hate some of the shit y'all stand for. But we all do fucked up shit at times. We do. Could I forgive y'all for what y'all have done thus far? I can't. I can't forgive it. Because you did it knowingly. You did it knowingly. You did it willingly. So for that, I can't forgive you. However, again, I'm not your enemy. But you let an old, decrepit, billionaire pedophile convince you that I was your enemy. And this is why we got what we got today. And for those of you that are still supporting him, you're accomplices to his crimes. You're aiding and abetting an international criminal, a global criminal. Of course, maybe some of y'all are felons yourselves. Maybe that's why y'all stick together so tight. I've never been convicted of any crimes. Oh, and let's make something clear about illegal aliens. Being an illegal alien is not a crime. It is not a criminal offense. It's a civil offense, and it's handled by the civil courts. Whether you like it or not, that's what it is. Don't try to make it something it's not. It is not a criminal offense. And I 100% believe that we should give these people a fair path to full citizenship. Yeah, you may not like the way that they get here, but some people are desperate. You know what? Yeah, they're desperate. They're running away from poverty, you know? And you got to understand, a lot of these countries that they're coming from, they literally don't have the ability to rise up against those governments in these impoverished countries because they don't have the weapons. The government has the weapons, the cartels have the weapons. But the average people, the people that are literally trying to make a decent life for themselves, they don't have the weapons or the capability to rise up and fight. It's very easy for us to sit here and say, well, why don't you go back and fight for your country? They need support. They do. They need support. I would imagine any of them would stand up and fight for their countries if they had the capabilities. And unfortunately, violence is necessary in some of these cases. Violent uprisings are sometimes necessary. But unfortunately, many of the people that rush to our borders don't have access to the tools that they need to conduct those uprisings. Now, if Donald Trump had said, hey, you know what? We're going to go into Colombia and we're going after the cartels, I would have been with that. Even in Mexico, he could have negotiated with Mexico to say, look, Mexico, let's get together. We'll send some of our forces in and we're going to eradicate these fucking drug cartels so that you can get control of your country. We'll help build up your military forces so that y'all can effectively fight these cartels. Because a lot of these cartels are better armed, than the police force. Well, they're definitely better armed than the police forces, but a lot of them, outgun the governments. And if you want to solve a problem, I think you got to take it to the root. Go after these cartels where they lay. But you got to negotiate with the local governments and say, hey, we will give you the support if you truly want to get rid of these cartels and take your land back, take your nation back, and protect your people. I'm with that. I'm with that 100%. I'm not with this bullshit of, wasting, million-dollar missiles, multi-million-dollar missiles on speedboats in the Caribbean. I'm not with that bullshit. I'm not with the bullshit that Trump pulled in Venezuela because that was all about oil. It was all about him enriching himself and his family and his billionaire buddies in the oil industry. I'm not with that bullshit. Because it wasn't about drugs. I don't give a fuck what nobody says on the right. Venezuela was not about drugs. It was about oil. And Cuba is not about whatever it is that Trump is trying to claim about them. Cuba is about a big fucking Caribbean real estate deal that Trump is after. He's looking to turn Cuba into the Western, Riviera or something. You know what I'm saying? Mark my word. He don't give a fuck about the Cuban people. He wants to take that entire island and turn it into a fucking resort. That's all he wants to do. It's about money and power. Don't think for 1 second he gives a shit about the Cuban people. And for you Cubans down here in Miami and South Florida that think that Trump gives a fuck about you in Cuba, you are fucking insane. You're just stupid. You really are. And I don't understand it. Y'all gotta pay attention to what's happening, people. Got Israel over here trying to eradicate the Palestinians. Genocide. Pure and simple. It's genocide. Israeli government's always talking about, oh, we're protecting the Israeli people, you know, from this, that, but you're the only ones over there that's committing mass murder on an unbelievable scale. And to the Jewish people, I feel sorry for y'all because y'all have a government. It's your government that brings all the grief and heartache to you. It's because of your government and their activities that causes a lot of the shit that comes to you. First thing out of their mouth, though, does Israel have a right to exist? No, they don't. America doesn't have a right to exist. England doesn't have a right to exist. No country has a right to exist. People have a right to exist. People. There's no such thing as no fucking God-given land to anybody. God gave the earth to all of us. And it's up to us to fucking live here in peace and harmony. I don't care what you think your Bible says or your Torah or your Quran or whatever the fuck you read. If you worship a God that plays favorites like that, then you're worshiping the wrong fucking thing. I would never worship anybody. One, I'm not going to worship anyone or anything. Especially when that so-called almighty power who supposedly created everything in existence created a world so fucked up. And then y'all idiots sit here and say, well, you know, we fucked ourselves up because we were given free will. Motherfucker, there ain't no such thing as free will in the universe. The universe is the fucking universe, and it's going to be what it's going to be. I talk to Christians all the time. They kill me with their, you know, the almighty, omnipotent, you know, all-knowing one. He created all of this, and if it's his will, if it was his will, we wouldn't have all this bullshit going on in this world. Obviously, he's not as perfect as your book is teaching you to be. He's not as all-knowing. Because if he was, that means he knew this world was going to be this way. And yet he created it anyway, right? Why? I saw such a good analogy just yesterday, as a matter of fact. This young lady, she said, okay, she says, you know, God basically spoke everything into existence. The Word, you know, he spoke the earth into existence and all, you know, and the animals, and let there be light, and there, you know what I'm saying? Why can't he speak evil out of existence? Why can't he just say, let evil be gone, and it be gone? Why can't he say, let starvation and lack be gone, and it be gone? Why can't he speak us into a world of true paradise and what do you call it? I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but why can't he speak, all the good things into existence and speak the bad things out? Why can't he? Because again, and you keep telling me, he's all knowing. He knew your life before, you were even born into this world. So that means he knew I was going to be an asshole. So did I have free will in being an asshole? Because if he knew prior to my existence who and what I was going to be, that means it was pre-written, right? He knew you were going to be a fuck up before you came into existence, right? So what are you going to be judged for when it's time to go? How's he going to judge you when he knew you were going to be what you ended up being? If we were truly making choices for ourselves, he knew in advance what your choices were going to be. So how the fuck is he going to judge you at the end? How the hell are you going to atone for your sins that he knew you were going to commit? In fact, we're born into sin. Why? This didn't have to be a sinful world. Why didn't he create it? Why didn't he create a world that was void of sin? He created this sinful world. Blamed it on man. Said, oh no, man made the world sinful. Well, you made man, so take responsibility for your creation, right? That's what happens to us. If we invent something or we build something and all of a sudden a bunch of people die, what's the first thing that happens? A lawsuit comes, they're going to wipe us out, and we're going to be held accountable for our badass invention, right? Isn't that the law? But we were created in his image, in his likeness, and not even his image or his likeness, but we were created in their image. Who were they? Because obviously God didn't do it by himself, right? He had a crew, it sounds like to me. Let us create man in our own image. Somebody told me, well, he was talking as the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So the motherfucker's schizophrenic, tripolar? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Explain this shit to me. Make it make sense. Because I know I'm not crazy. I pay attention to the words that were written and the words that are spoken, and the shit don't make sense to me. At all. Somebody came to me a while back and said, the Lord told me to talk to you. Really? Why would he tell you to talk to me? Why couldn't he talk to me himself? And I thought the Lord didn't partake. I thought gossip was a sin. So why would he be talking to you about me? Make it make sense, y'all. Make it make sense. Listen, I'm on one today. I know I'm all over the place. But it goes back to the root. It goes back to the beginning. God created Adam and Eve. And Adam and Eve had two sons, Cain and Abel. Where the fuck did their wives come from? I used to ask that question all the time. But then, as I got older and I understood Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, I realized that Adam and Eve were not the first humans created. Because God created man in his own image. And he told them to be fruitful and multiply, and I give you dominion over the land and the animals and the fishes of the sea and the birds, and you know what I'm saying. So there were people before Adam and Eve, because Adam and Eve didn't come along until Genesis 2. Created him from the dust of the ground, from the clay of the dirt, and he breathed life into his nostrils. And he put him in the Garden of Eden, which in my opinion was probably a laboratory, you know, which was probably some sort of biodome that kept Adam isolated from the rest of the humans in the world. It's just my opinion, y'all. It's my opinion. I'm entitled to it. And then saw that Adam was lonely, so he put Adam to sleep. Gave him that good anesthesia. Cracked out one of his ribs and created Eve. But the Bible never talks about Lilith, supposedly Adam's first wife. She must have been one of them women from outside the garden. One of those women that was created in the first batch of humans that didn't go right. Because apparently outside the Garden of Eden, it was wicked as fuck. Shit was going crazy outside the garden. The garden had to be some place of isolation, because when Adam and Eve got kicked out, there were angels at the gates so that they couldn't get back in. So that tells you the outside world was already fucked up. Which would tell me that Almighty wasn't as almighty as he claimed to be, or as y'all claim to be, because so much shit went wrong. And then this so-called loving God, the one who loves you so much, loves you unconditionally, decided he needed to destroy the world with a flood. But he saved one family, Noah and his sons and daughter-in-laws, because they were going to need to repopulate the earth. So he flooded the earth. Oh, of course, you know, Noah gathered up all the animals. You know how big that fucking ark would have to be to have two of every animal? And then you got how did Noah feed these animals for 40 days and 40 nights? We're talking about predators, meat eaters, and plant eaters. How big would the ark have to be to carry enough food and supplies for all these meat-eating animals and these plant-eating animals? And does any of this shit make sense to y'all? Does it? The only way it could make sense is through some science fiction shit. The ark was a ship, and it had chambers to keep all the DNA of everything. That's the only way it could make sense. But that shit don't make sense either, because that would mean that humans were far more advanced than we are now. You know what I'm saying? Think about that shit. Do y'all ever really think about these stories you be reading and believing out of the Bible and out of the Torah and out of the Quran? Do y'all think about that shit? No, y'all just take it, you know, and be like, oh, well, you got to have faith. You know, without faith, you won't believe it. No, without common sense. You motherfuckers don't have common sense. I'm sorry to say. You know, I don't mean to knock you for your religious beliefs and such, but come on. Come on, y'all. Come on. You got a fully functional brain. God himself told you in the beginning he wanted your asses to stay dumb. He didn't want you to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and bad. Why? He didn't want you to know. Because he wanted you stupid. You can eat from all the trees in the garden, but don't eat from this tree. This is the tree of knowledge. Can't have knowledge. Can't have that. Those woke ass motherfuckers running around here because they're going to ruin everything. Think about that. Does the cycle repeat itself? It absolutely does. Look at our government. This is where woke comes to die. They don't want you to be aware, people. They don't want you to be aware. That's why I always advocate stay woke. Wake the fuck up and stay woke. Pay attention. Be aware. Don't just be a fucking robot, going through life, and just believe in everything they fucking tell you. And I'm not talking about the woke media. I'm talking about all of the information that's being given to you by these politicians. Because the knowledge is within us. Common sense is within us. If you just use your fucking working brain, you can figure out what bullshit is and what's not. It's not that hard, y'all. It's really not. So, take it for what it's worth. I'm your man's Ken Jackson. This is the Ken Jackson Experience. Coffee with Ken. Thank everybody that joined in. Even if you only stayed for a second or two, I still appreciate it. And keep coming back, because you never know. You never know. I might have something to say that might be extremely useful to you, but you never know if you don't tune in. You know what I'm saying? So check out the website, crazybabytvworld.com. Check out the blog posts, the gallery, which I need to update the gallery today, as a matter of fact. I got a whole bunch of new photos to upload. And I got a couple of blog posts that I need to release to update that as well. And check out my 90-day escape plan. People go through life with no system, with no structure. And this is why they end up broke. This is why their relationships fall apart, because they have no structure to their life. My 90-day escape plan will give you structure. Check it out. The links are here in the About Me. And also you can find it on our website. Again, crazybabytvworld.com. And across all my social media pages, Crazy Baby TV World. 90-day escape plan. Check it out along with the workbook. There's a workbook as well. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. It is a straightforward, practical system for getting your financial life in order, for getting your social life in order. 90 days. Get it, do it, change your life today. I'm your man's Ken Jackson. Peace. I will see y'all next time. I'm out. And how do we turn this thing off today?